a 5-bedroom house, my car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind.
There are voices out there, including the South African president, who has called you cowards.
Yeah.
You've got other Afrikaners who are saying that you're not.
This is how mainstream media do their own stuff. I may not be a fan of President Ramaphosa, but this is how they interpret it. Because you have to focus on that statement that President Ramaphosa called them cowards. Because this is how you have to interpret it so that it can get the attention of many people, so that many people can be misled.
You're not refugees, you're opportunists, that you've abandoned the country. What would you say to those people?
I had to leave a 5-bedroom house, which I will lose now because I'm not going to pay for it. My car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind. I didn't come here for fun, but my children are safe. If you're white, you're wrong in South Africa. You're a land thief, you are a racist. I had nothing to do with apartheid. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
What was it?
It's important to go back to history. Every time you encounter a difficulty, problems, you have to go back to history and ask yourself, why did my ancestors oppress these people? Because it's like now I'm reaping the results of what my ancestors did to the ancestors of the indigenous people of Africa. Sometimes you have to ask yourself those questions before you can just jump into conclusion to say, now I'm a refugee, they hate me. If you are white in South Africa, it's wrong, you are a racist, and all those things. Then you end up calling yourself a refugee, you end up calling yourself persecuted. In other words, people don't like you. In other words, you are the most hated. The president of South Africa called you cowards, and etc. and etc. So now, the mainstream media wants to focus on negativity so that at the end of the day, the entire world can believe that these people are refugees. So right now, it's time for people to open their minds. So every time you see such people, maybe you are living in America, you encounter these people or you meet these people on the streets or maybe elsewhere, they call themselves refugees. You have to know that these people are lying. Because I always say, justice is the most painful thing if it's executed accordingly. 1994 was not justice. So they have to appreciate that from 1994 until now, the descendants of those who were enslaved, the descendants of those who were persecuted, did not do anything to them. They have to appreciate that. They have to say, we have never seen such people in the whole world. People who were oppressed for all these years, but after 1994, they were able to live with white people here in South Africa. They have to appreciate that. In other words, they don't talk about positive things. Why? Because they want the whole world to know that they are persecuted. They are refugees. So when I look at these people, I only see VIP refugees. They got the attention of Mr. Donald Trump. In other words, to me, this whole thing doesn't seem like refugees being assisted, because when you see a refugee, you will be able to identify that this man here is a refugee. But what I see here, I see people who live a luxury life and who are going to continue living a luxurious life. But I'm not there. The most important thing is justice. You have to ask yourself, why these people call me a racist? Why these people call me a land thief? In other words, you have to go back to history, how these people were treated. Even if you personally didn't do anything to them, but you will still be affected because your ancestors, your forefathers did something to their forefathers. That is why they will call you a land thief, because even these banks, They are using illegal laws to sell these lands. Even those who are occupying these lands, running business and etc., etc., they are using illegal laws. That is why I'm saying justice is expensive. So when these people see justice coming on their way, they want to run away. They want to call themselves refugees. They want to call themselves victims. Now they want the whole world to see them as victims. Now they are like, we are not here for fun. We didn't come to America for fun. In other words, we are here to work. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to go to America, you can go to America and work. But you should not go there at the expense of trying to manipulate the minds of the people. It should not be like that. Because right now, mainstream media is happy because everyone should see that South Africans are bad people. They treat white people in a bad way. They don't want to live with white people, which is not true. Because from 1994 until now, black people have been living with white people without any problem. The only thing that I know is that even though they received this grace, even though they got this grace from black people, they continued to oppress them in terms of business, in terms of many things. So right now, I just want to say we can see how the world looks like right now as we speak. Right now as we speak, I just want to say I'm not against the people of America for voting for Donald Trump. They voted for Donald Trump because they want Donald Trump to serve for them. And I believe they think Donald Trump was a best candidate, and they still believe that Donald Trump is a best candidate. But as for me, I just want to say Donald Trump should mind his own business. In other words, should take care of America and serve the people who voted for him in power. He should serve those people, but he should not serve those people at the expense of Africans, at the expense of lying, because Donald Trump knows very well. He knows how mainstream media works. He knows very well that no one is being persecuted here. But why are they pushing this whole thing? Is the very same thing they're doing in Israel against the people of Palestine. In other words, they cannot change. In other words, if they have the agenda, you cannot twist their minds. You cannot manipulate their minds. The only thing the Africans should do is to stick together. In other words, is to stand together. In other words, we don't want to see what we see in Nigeria and Ivory Coast being against Ibrahim Traoré. We don't want to see that, because while we are busy fighting against one another, there are people who are protecting others in the name of a word, refugee. It's important for us to wake up.